One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham. Breaking news into the Fanfare newsfeed.
Catherine, I read your piece and I heard you just mention it. The federal ban on price gouging for groceries. You are skeptical of this. Why?
Well, first of all, nobody can explain what price gouging means. It's like that old line about pornography. I know it when I see it. In the sense that what does it mean to have an excessive price or an excessive profit margin? That seems to be shorthand for a price or a profit margin that bugs me. That seems too high. So, it's very hard to pin down what this would actually mean. If you look at the legislation that, as I mentioned, is already in the Senate, led by Senate Warren and Senator Bob Casey and a slew of others, the particular way that this is written, which is likely to be the template for any proposal that Harris would eventually embrace, is especially bad in that it just bans excessive prices, grossly excessive profit margins, and says that the Federal Trade Commission can use any metric it deems appropriate to decide what that would mean. Which basically says, like, it's not going to be markets, it's not going to be supply and demand that's determining how much your grocery store charges you for milk or for eggs. It's going to be some bureaucrat in D.C., which seems like totally unworkable, first of all, for the FTC to be deciding, like, how much Kroger charges for eggs in Michigan. But it also would be very bad for markets. We've seen this kind of thing tried in lots of other countries before: Venezuela, Argentina, the Soviet Union, etc. It leads to shortages. It leads to black markets, plenty of uncertainty. And beyond that, the specific way this bill is written might actually increase prices because of some of the other language in it. Things like requiring companies, public companies, to disclose in their quarterly reports, their quarterly earnings reports, how they're setting prices, which is a great way to help them collude, which normally we don't want them to do. So anyway, the devil's in the details, I guess, for that bill, but it's really hard for me to imagine any form of legislation that preserves the spirit of what she's proposing that would not be, at best do nothing, at worst cause a lot of harm.
So in other words, what she's saying is she spewed a lot of crap. It's nothing that anybody can endorse. Nobody other than other commies are going to get behind this. And that it's basically dead on arrival. And if you watched her speech today, what was funny is as I'm watching it, I can almost feel her uncomfortability in even saying the stupid stuff that she was saying. Never mind the fact that there was like 80 people there, so I'm not sure what happened. I guess Megan Thee Stallion couldn't make it, or one of the other twerking stars couldn't be there. Beyonce was tied up, so she was on her own, and she drew a whopping, half a garage full of people to listen to nothing but pure pablum. If you don't know what that word is, that's your word of the day. Pure pablum. It made absolutely no sense. She didn't even feel comfortable saying it. And even CNN came out and said, nah, this is crap. This is total crap. And then, of course, she ended everything by talking about Project 2025 again. Funny, I didn't see any fact checkers on CNN or MSNBC saying, oh, hey, listen, she lied like 55 times. And when she lied 55 times, she brought up Project 20. No, that doesn't happen when she talks. But I couldn't believe, you just saw that piece. I could not even fathom that she mentioned that they brought on somebody from CNN who came out and said, no, this is basically a load of poop, and there's nothing she can do about it. I'm going to do the poll show tonight at 7:30, I believe. Go ahead and make sure you're registered for that, because the polls are blowing up. Finally, the lily the guild has come off the lily, is the saying. I say Katie bar the door. It's the honeymoon turned into a Kamala Harris style honeymoon, because it turned into basically a one-night stand. That's it. It's over. I know sometimes my exuberance and my confidence is, I get emails from people, I get texts, I get tweets where people say, Barry, how can you feel so confident? I've always felt confident, I've told you. But today, what she did today, in all essence, her campaign is DOA. It's done. It's toast. Forget about it. Now, I understand. We all know the kind of shenanigans that these people can do. We've seen to what lengths they will do to try and get people to vote for the Democrat challenger. They will also, I say challenger because Joe's not running, so it is basically a challenger. She's not an incumbent. I also heard today that they kicked Cornel West off of the Michigan ballot. Said they couldn't basically affirm his identity, so they kicked him off. So they're doing everything they possibly can to clear the field for Kamala Harris. But after today, the few independents, or whatever amount of independents that were kind of leaning into her, just went, hey, I'm done. I can't do it. And CNN and some of these liberal, rags are even saying, we can't do this. So Pennsylvania, as you know, is a swing state. And I saw this video by Bob Casey, who's one of the senators in Pennsylvania, and he basically nailed himself to the cross to help Kamala Harris. And I think at this point, Pennsylvanians are going to sit back and go, you're lying to us? We know you're lying to us. We know you're lying to us. And we ain't buying this stuff. Listen to what Bob Casey had to say.
So, Senator, let me just read a quick passage from a piece in the Washington Post this morning, an op-ed that writes, quote, it's... Oh, and I'm going to show you that op-ed because, oh, damn, it's unbelievable. But this is Bob Casey. He's got the frown on his face, and he's been put out there on MSNBC, who's going to confront him because, like I said, the media is now starting to understand this woman's a fraud. She's a fake. She won't do any interviews.
And the last thing, and I've said it many times, the last thing you want to do is upset people who buy ink by the barrel. That's an old saying, tells you how old I am, but you don't piss off the people in the media. They will cover for you. They will do everything for you. But once you start making them look stupid, they start backing off. They start getting the alligator arms going, I can't trust you. I'm hoping to be here long after you're gone out of office. You know, win or lose, I hope to have a job in the media long after you're gone. So I'm trying to carry your water right now, but you're making it very hard by not doing any interviews and not saying anything. You saw the video I did with Stephen A. Smith where people are like, damn, what are you doing? Why are you not out there? Doesn't make any sense. Any athlete worth his salt, even if he knows he's going to get his butt whooped, wants to be in the game. Nobody goes, you know what, I hope coach doesn't put me in. I hope the coach doesn't see me over here and calls my number and says, Cunningham, you're in. No, I don't want to do that. Nobody sits back and goes, I hope I don't have to actually do a press conference and talk to somebody. So Ben Casey, I think Bob Casey, whatever his name is, a senator from Pennsylvania, who's now got to go out and protect her, even though the media, they're not being nasty. They're like, hey, man, what you got?
Hard to exaggerate how bad this policy is. It is, in all but name, a sweeping set of government-enforced price controls across every industry, not only food. Supply and demand would no longer determine prices or profit levels. Far off Washington bureaucrats would. The FTC would be able to tell, say, a Kroger in Ohio the acceptable price it can charge for milk. Curious how you respond to that from the Washington Post, and who exactly decides when a price at the grocery store in Ohio is excessive?
Always got to stop at the end of a question. Because when you're talking to politicians, sometimes they hope you don't remember the question. You're watching something on TV and you're doing something, you're picking something up, and you may not hear it, but all you do is hear him talk. So I just want to make sure you understood what this guy asked, the question he asked. I understand price gouging. Who is going to determine what price gouging actually is? You heard the lady from CNN. Basically, there's no way to determine price gouging. She said, and I quote, I can't define porn to you, but I know it when I see it. So he's asking this guy, a senator in the United States government, can you tell me who's going to determine what price gouging is?
Well, it's really not at the grocery store level. This is at the corporate level, Willie.
You see the quick head. What do you mean not at the grocery store level?
They've been making record profits. We've never seen the kind of profits in corporate America the last couple of years. And when they're doing that, they're bragging.
Stop. Have you seen the amount of store closures around the country? It's one thing to kind of obfuscate the facts. It's another thing to just blatantly lie to the American people. Oh, they've had record corporate profits. I mean, I didn't even have this planned. It's just something I'm going to just bring up right now. Store closures in 2024 and see what I get. I mean, it's been just amazing amount of store closures. There's actually a few places out here that show how many store closures we've seen. How about this? Let me see if I just bring this up. So we'll come back to this lying fool here in a second. But you can see right here, I just went to Google and it stores what stores are where'd it go? Hold on. That's in Florida. Okay, here it is. At least 11 retail brands have said they're closing U.S. stores in 2024, totaling up to 1,400 stores. 1,400 stores are closing in 2024, with Family Dollar, a dollar store, the largest chain on the list, plan to close at least 600. Other companies, small companies like Walmart, are closing a few stores while opening other ones as well. So, what do you mean record, store profits when you got companies going out of business, closing 1,400 locations across the country? everywhere, basically every state. And this guy wants to go on national television and goes, don't worry, everything's fine, nothing to see here.
About increasing prices. So my point is that we should give the federal government the power to investigate.
You down with that? This guy just said on national television to Republicans, Democrats, and to independents, we should give the power to the federal government to investigate the profits of private corporations. Castro couldn't be prouder of you.
Just run-of-the-mill price gouging, and you give the people an opportunity.
What is run-of-the-mill price gouging? Tell me, can you define that? But again, he didn't answer the question because it's a question that really can't be answered. And I do mean, I'm sure maybe on the MSNBC can find some economists to back her, but I would venture to say it's almost 90% of people are saying, this is crazy. This is absolute communism. There's no other word for it. You want to give the federal government the power, as he said, to jump in and open up the books of corporations across the country to determine if they're making too much money. Seriously? Check out what Byron Donalds had to say about this. I think it's Byron Donalds. No, this is, it's Byron Donalds. Okay. Let me see if it's the same one.
So, Senator, let me just read a quick passage from a piece in the Washington Post this morning, an op-ed that writes, quote,
she hasn't stuck to any very clear set of ideological...
This is CNBC jumping on it now going, this doesn't make sense. This is a financial network on television that's saying what she's saying doesn't make any sense.
Policies, she's wavered a bit throughout her years in politics. What was interesting to me today in seeing this plan is that it's clearly very progressive, regardless of what she's saying to donors behind closed doors.
You catch that? She's a fraud. She's a phony, and CNBC just told the world she's a complete phony. She's saying one thing on stage, and she's telling her peeps behind the curtain something different, completely different. And people are starting to see, hey man, what are you going up on stage saying this stuff, and you expect me to keep giving you money?
She is putting a progressive bent to her campaign at this point, and that's not what a lot of people expected or hoped to see.
They didn't buy into this. We didn't buy into communism. We're not cutting our own company's throats. We thought by doing, getting you some money that it would help us on the back end because you would help us, earn more money. And now you're telling the world, I'm going to take your money and I'm going to jump into your books. She's going to lose donors. She's going to lose votes. She's going to lose the media. Just think about that. Where do you end with this price gouging? Do you want someone to complain, somebody like me who says, MSNBC and NBC are charging too much for ads. I think you should investigate, NBC to see how much they're charging for ads and if it's gouging. I'll leave it up to you to determine what gouging is, but, have at it. And so these media companies are looking at this going, wait a second. You want to do what? You want to walk into our offices, be able to have the power of the federal government to come in and say, hey, you didn't need that $20,000 camera. I understand it shoots in 4K, maybe even 8K, but you know what? You could do better with a used one that just shoots regular standard definition. So we're going to penalize you because, we're the federal government. We're going to penalize you for what you did in this upgrade. You didn't need that $5,000 light. I see them on Amazon for $99. Gonna have to penalize you for that. With no clear definition, with nothing on paper that states, here's what my plan is. I plan to define price gouging. I plan to show you the process for investigation, and I plan to show you the process for, penalizing you. Nope, none of that. So you expect me, I'm an owner of 10, 12 businesses, I've got 1,000 employees, you want me to write a donor check, which basically could be personal suicide, because I don't know what the hell you have planned in your communistic approach. So now she's starting to get resistance from even the media. It's very important for you to see that. She hasn't defined which businesses she's going to go after. She mentioned food, but if they have you know how government works, they're not going to put just grocery stores. Even Bob Casey said, oh no, it's not at the grocery store level, it's at the corporate level. He said that. So if a company owns a shipping company, and they happen to also own a real estate company, and they've also invested in a grocery store chain, which, you know, a lot of companies do, they're conglomerates, they buy all kinds of businesses. Now you're telling me, because the Cheerios was too expensive, now I need to see what else you're doing. You wouldn't do that in your own personal business. You wouldn't just lay bare, even though they have the IRS that can come in and do it, which is another thing. We already have price gouging laws, so what is she talking about? This is what it boils down to. Price gouging laws are already on the books. What she is looking to do is to find that mouse hole where she can get into corporations and see how else they can grab more money and use a penalty phase to come after you. It's not about groceries, it's not about food, it's about accessing corporate books any way you want. See, right now, if you wanted to go look at Walmart and you wanted to do an IRS audit, of course, they've got tons of attorneys that are going to, basically walk you through, fight back. They know which laws, but they know as well. This isn't that. This is a carte blanche law she's trying to do. This is where I get to look at everything. Whereas in an IRS audit, you got to follow a certain amount of criteria. The lawyers can tell you to go pound sand. Here's our books. Here's how we basically did our business. We've acclimated and done different things. We've filled out all the schedules. So you can see that we're going to take a loss here and we're going to push it to 2025 or 2026. Okay. No, there's no schedules for price gouging. There's nothing there. They just want the power, as he said, to go investigate corporations. Not at your retail level, up here. We need to get to the big boys. And of course, there's a certain amount of liberals who are fine with that, because they know no better. They have no idea. And it's just okay. But now the smarter people are like, hey, giving you side eye going, what the hell are you talking about, Kamala? This doesn't make any sense. So let me show you this. The article he referenced was in the Washington Post. And this thing is absolutely stunning. Stunning. This, my friends, is the Washington Post, a liberal newspaper. Quote, when your opponent calls you a communist, maybe you don't propose price controls. The Washington Flipping Post, owned by Jeff Bezos, just called Kamala Harris a communist. Straight up called her a communist. Hey, listen, if you don't want to be known as a communist, don't do communist shit. Excuse my language. Because I'm not going for that. I have a very profitable business. Maybe not the Washington Post, but I have Amazon. Oh, wait a minute. We're going to go at the corporate level. We're going to go up higher. It's not just the Washington Post we want to look at. We need to look at all your business. And I'm sure Jeff Bezos was like, you're going to have to pound sand on this one. You're going to go look in here. Think about it, Apple. I'm sure Apple has all kinds of proprietary businesses that they're running. I know of a few businesses that they purchased and just shut down, just so they wouldn't be competitive with them. What if they decide, hey, listen, you bought that business and then you closed it so that they couldn't compete with you? Oh, we're going to have to penalize you for that. Big corporations, Apple, they use a Pac-Man approach. Hey, there's a guy here who just created something, and we're thinking about doing that. Give this guy $1 million, buy that company, and make that go away. We don't want that even in the market right now. What would a federal investigator look at that and think? Wow, they just gobbled up a competitor, made it go away? Okay. So again, back to this article, which is funny because if you think the first headline was bad, the second subheadline is even worse. It's hard to exaggerate how bad Kamala's price gouging proposal is. So you haven't even read the article yet, and they're like, she's a communist, and this proposal is so bad we can't even tell you. That's how bad it is. I'm pretty sure the Washington Post reaches a ton of independent left Democrats, maybe not complete nuts, maybe they're just liberal, they're not leftist, and they're reading this in the Washington Post and going, we can't even begin to tell you how bad this is. And I'm not going to waste the time to go through all of this because I've got some paragraphs highlighted here. Price gouging is the focus of Vice Presidential Kamala Harris's economic agenda. Her presidential campaign says she'll, quote, crack down on excessive prices and, quote, excessive corporate profits, particularly but not restricted to groceries. It's not hard to figure out where this proposal came from. Voters want to blame someone for high grocery bills, and the presidential candidates have apparently decided the choices are either blame the Biden administration, which she's trying to extricate herself from, or corporate greed. So you took the easy road and said it's their fault, not me and Joe. We didn't have we had nothing to do with this. No, girl, it wasn't us. It wasn't all the policies we did. It was corporate greed. In a news release, she said the first 100 days of her presidency would, quote, first ever federal ban on price gouging on food and groceries, setting clear rules of the road to make clear that big corporations can't unfairly exploit consumers to run up excessive corporate profits on food and groceries. When did it become illegal to have great profits? You can have great excessive profits without it being gouging. What if the demand, you've seen demand for certain products around Christmas. Remember everybody wanted a Cabbage Patch doll and everybody wanted the pet rock, which never understood that. And they made excessive profit. They made profit on a rock. Excessive profit on a rock. How did it happen? People thought it was cool, and they were willing to pay money to buy a flippin' rock. Okay, so now Miss Kamala comes in and goes, you're selling a rock for $25. Yep, people want it. But it's excessive. You should only be charging, 50 cents for that. It's a rock. I can go out in my garage, in backyard and get a rock. Yeah, but this is a pet rock. Comes with a story. In a box. We're charging $25 for it. People are buying it. But that's excessive. You see where this is going? How are you going to compare what's excessive to illegal? There's a big difference. It's called supply and demand. If idiots didn't buy this friggin' pet rock for $25, then they would not have sold it. But, there's poor people. There's poor people who can't afford a pet rock. Well, sell them boxes, tell their parents to go out and put the rock in a box and compete with them, okay? And this is where it gets revealed. What are these, quote, clear rules of the road, or the thresholds that determine when a price or profit level becomes excessive? The memo doesn't say that. And the campaign did not, of course, answer any questions which she sent clarification on. Great question. What's excessive? How do you determine what's a penalty? I'm sorry, no comment. What do you mean no comment? You're putting out this grandiose proposal, and then you're telling everybody, sorry, can't talk about it. Okay, all right. The most likely template for Harris's proposal is a recent bill from Elizabeth Warren. Ooh, yeah, great for her. And she goes, Warren's bill would ban any grossly, they keep using these words, grossly excessive, whatever that means, price during any atypical disruption of a market. Also, no definition was provided for the term atypical disruption of a market. Either rather, the bill would empower the Federal Trade Commission to enforce bans using any metric it deems appropriate. Any metric it deems appropriate. I can walk into your business and say that you don't deserve to make this much money. We have decided that toy stores should only make at maximum 200 grand a year per location. Yours is higher. We're going to have to fine you. Where'd that come from? We set the limit because we can use any metric appropriate. We can do whatever we want. Would you do that in your own business? I know there's some nuts that are like, yeah, they deserve that. Let's forget about them. If there are any trolls like that in the chat, just ignore them. They don't have any idea. Reading directly from what she has said. All right. It's hard to exaggerate how bad this policy, where am I? So you can see it. How bad this policy is. It is, in all but name, a sweeping set of government-enforced price controls across every industry, not only food. So if anyone was questioning, well, Barry, she's only talking about groceries. No, she's not. That's why I said what I said. It is, in all name, a sweeping set of government-enforced price controls across every industry. Every. E-V-E-R-Y. That means everything. All of it. There's no exceptions. It's not just grocery. It's not just food. You want a lawn, cutting service? You know what? You shouldn't be charging that much for lawn cutting. You own a pool service? Nope, you shouldn't be charging that much. We think it's grossly excessive. You have a barber shop? Think about it. What they are trying to do is get the power to enforce whatever they want using any metric they deem appropriate on any business. And do you think our federal government is only going to stop at billion-dollar corporations if they had this kind of power? You a carpenter? You don't deserve the $20 hammer. You should have bought the $5 hammer. Oh, wait a minute. You're not paying your employees enough because your profits are too high. You should be paying Joe the carpenter's apprentice, 50 grand a year instead of 35 grand a year. Why? Because we deem it. We have that power and we have broad reaching. We determine now that what you're doing is grossly excessive. Whew. Unbelievable. Continues. Supply and demand would no longer determine prices or profit levels. Everything is supply and demand. Breaking it right down to my lawn service guy. And I've had this happen. I've had other lawn guys leave flyers on the front door, just put something in the mailbox. Hey, listen, we'd love to get your business, and here's how much we charge. Because, they want the business. There would be no competitive network. It would be over. This is the set price for cutting lawns, and everybody's going to make the same amount. But the guy I'm using has better service, and he's got better terms, and he gets along with the dog. Doesn't matter. Everybody's got to pay the same. Supply and demand would no longer determine price or profit levels. Far off Washington bureaucrats sitting in some office in Washington would tell you what you can charge and how much you can make. Not supply and demand. The FTC would be able to tell, say, a Kroger in Ohio, the acceptable price it can charge for milk. But how are they going to come up with it? We'll deem that. We'll let you know. At best, this would lead to shortages, black markets, and hoarding, among other distortions seen previous times in previous countries tried to limit price growth by fiat. There's a reason narrow price gouging laws that exist in some U.S. states are rarely invoked. At worst, it might accidentally raise prices. That's because, among other things, the legislation would ban companies from offering lower prices to a big customer such as Costco, meaning, oh, you want to buy 12 pallets of my stuff? I'm going to give you a discount. Nope, can't do that, because Joe's Corner Store can't do that. They can't get this. It's not fair. Which means quantity discounts are in trouble. Worse, it would require public companies to publish detailed internal data about costs, margins, contracts, and their future pricing strategies. Posting costs and pricing plans publicly is a fantastic way for companies to collude to keep prices higher, all facilitated by the government. This is hot garbage. It is complete hot, utter garbage. She just lost the election. If she didn't lose today, in the polls coming weeks, whatever polls you want to listen to, still show her close, you know for a fact, without any equivocation, they are setting up to steal this election. There is not a corporation in America that would lay prone or bent over backwards like they getting monkeypox that says you have complete access and telling me how much money we can generate. Nobody in their right mind in business would ever want that. So you could immediately feel the shift going, Trump. Trump. Because the corporations right now are going, and I'm sure some of them are calling her campaign and like, hey, are you serious? Was this just something to pander? Because if you're serious with this, I'm out. I can't possibly do that. And if she says to the corporations, no, I'm just saying it to see if we can, she'd never say that. So she's in a catch-22 situation. Somebody, whoever's pulling her strings, told her to go out there and say that today, and they basically put a noose around her neck. They left her swinging on the podium because she just offended and pissed off everybody. Not even pissed off, we're laughing at her. It's a joke. You are a complete, utter joke at this point. You have embarrassed yourself. You have embarrassed everybody that works with you. You've embarrassed black people. You are stupid. Absolutely stupid if you think anyone in any business would be willing to prostitute themselves for this kind of insane regulation. Ain't gonna happen. And if you're gonna continue to push this, you're just gonna see your numbers just go down, down, and down. So your campaign's over. If this was what everybody was waiting for, let's hear what her platform is financially. You just laid an egg. An absolute egg. Let me hear what you guys are going to say. Leg spreader Harris is a clown, and her pedophile, I can't even say that. As much of a joke, Tua trying to win a game in 40 or lower degree weather. It's a big thing down here with us people in the South Florida. It's big time embarrassing. It's extremely embarrassing. I mean, I can't even imagine corporate America going, oh no. So then you have to ask the question. The body language guy has a great video on that. What did he say too? She didn't believe what she was saying. Agreed. Enough of the BS. Vote Trump. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, so somebody just tweeted and went by so fast. And I'm going to address it. I can't see where the comment went. These things come so fast. Somebody said, is this just a setup for her to be replaced? Is the audition over and they're going to bring in somebody else? At this point, this party, whatever you want to call it, is in such disarray. You've got the lying, stolen valor, horse milkshake guy, and you've got Kamala, who doesn't know what the hell she's talking about, and you've got the media who, up until today, have been trying to prop her up. And I think media at this point, as you saw in that Washington Post article, they're, hey man, this doesn't make any sense. I'm a businessman. I sit in a boardroom. I'm the 25th floor of this high-rise tower. And you want me to just let you waltz in here with Elizabeth Warren looking at my books? Just think how many votes she lost today. It may take them 2 weeks to begin seeing the compilation. But unfortunately, next week, August 22nd, we're talking a little over 6 days, they're going to officially nominate this woman. So maybe you're right. Maybe they're looking to bring somebody else in pretty quick because, baseball, maybe they're ready to bring somebody out of the bullpen because I can't fathom that horse milkshake drinking, stolen valor guy is going to be able to stand up in a debate to J.D. Vance. And I don't understand how this woman, who has no clue about business, other than her zingers and lies, would even be able to stand next to Donald Trump on a debate stage. They're going to, here's the debate. It's probably 5 questions. So tell me, Mr. Trump, and you want to make sure that all the states have the baby removal, which I've told you is no longer a presidential issue. So I hope his debate team is prepping him to go, next, move on. Let's talk about what people want to talk about. Because in order for them to protect her, they're going to have to talk about everything but the stuff people want to talk about. They're going to have to talk about baby disposal. They're going to have to talk about climate. They're going to have to talk about, well, they can't go to immigration route. I don't know. So maybe you're right. Maybe this is where the soft change comes in, which would basically detonate a nuclear bomb on their party at this point. You're stuck. You're stuck. I can't see any viable politician that goes, I want to step into this. Because, whoever it is would be the second coming. It would take a couple days and they would have a strategy. Oh, it's fantastic. We got rid of her. Now people aren't going to buy it again. And now that honeymoon phase is over, today she became the bride on the honeymoon who the husband just found out she's a transformer. I mean, that's exactly what happened today. Somebody, was abstinent. They were waiting. They went through the marriage. They had the honeymoon, and they went to consummate the marriage, and they found out they married a transformer. Because that's what happened. Absolutely what happened. CNN is owned by, I think, the Discovery Channel. MSNBC is owned by Comcast. ABC is owned by Disney. NBC, again, Comcast, and PBS, I don't know if you would even call them a real corporation, but these are all big corporate ABC is owned by Disney. Do you think that Bob Iger wants to let Elizabeth Warren and her cronies open up the books to Disney? Ain't happening. Hey, you know what? I understand you got the Florida pass, and people who live in Florida can get a discount during the summer months because it's slower, but you should make that available to everybody. They don't even publish the Florida rates on certain websites. Unless you live down here, you don't know that it's cheaper to go to Disney if you live here. Oh, hey, wait a second. You're offering people tickets to the Magic Kingdom for like half price if they live in Florida. I live in New York. I want half price. Oh, Elizabeth. Whew. Seriously? That's what she's looking at. Super chat. Hey, thank you, Kate. While the Dems are vipers now, they're setting up for the re-entrance of Biden. Might as well. She lost it. She absolutely lost it today. 2024, the year of exposure. You got to think that the Trump team's sitting back and going, oh, man. Oh, I'm salivating. I don't care what network you put me on next to her. They can't hide her. Eventually, you're going to have to get to a question about the economy. You can tell by her stump speeches, she's got nothing. If she gets up there and talks again about presidential ban on baby removal, doesn't exist. Project 2025 doesn't exist. What in the heck is she going to talk about? He's a criminal? Which means absolutely nothing to anyone who's voting for Trump. They don't care. They saw what kind of show pony trial that was. What I don't understand is all these people in the crowd cheering. Where do they get these idiots? Unions, SEIU, I see a lot of them. A lot of liberal hippies that are older now. A lot of black people who are still on the plantation. They're not listening. They're stuck. They're in lockstep. A lot of black people just doing what they're told. You know, he's the big bad white guy. There was a thing on CNN yesterday where they're talking politics, and Nancy Mace was there, and there was like a table full of black Democrats, and she said, and I don't even know because it's interchangeable to me. She either said Kamala or Kamala, whichever one. One of them isn't the right way to call her name. I think the right way is Kamala, and she called her Kamala, whatever. And they all blew up. Oh, it's disrespecting. It's white supremacy. Oh my God, you're racist. I'm like, dude, she's got a weird name. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't keep track. Oh, you're doing it on purpose. I'm like, you're talking about an election, and you're bitching because this woman pronounced her name wrong. I'm sorry. Can we move on to something that really matters? Oh no, we can't, because you can't talk about anything that really matters. Absolutely. She's stupid as she debates Trump. Yeah, she did. Yeah, she's real stupid. That would be crazy. All right, so, and unions, some unions suck. It's true. CBS can't shut Trump's mouth. Nope. That's why they're going to have that little button where they can turn off the microphone, but it is not going to work. So let me get to this so you guys aren't here all day. But what's really funny is I've got a few cuts of her speech today, and I didn't edit. I shortened, but I didn't edit. I want you guys to actually hear some of the nonsense that comes out of this woman's mouth. I think you will be absolutely amazed. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this. Listen to this insanity.
A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic.
Whose fault is that? See, one of the things I think that is happening is, in terms of the media protecting this woman, is notice how few times they introduce her as the vice president, you know, the person currently in office. It's like these people sitting in the stands don't realize everything she says, she's in control of. So if prices are up 50% and you've been there for 3.5 years, how do these people in the audience not go, but you're in charge, you're number two. And the other guy's incapacitated, so you're basically, 1B. So it's on you.
Ground beef is up almost 50%. When I am elected president, I will make it a top priority to bring down costs.
And none of these people in the audience, none of them. Excuse me, Ms. Harris, you're number two right now. You're the vice president. Why are you waiting until January of 2025? Why aren't you doing it right? Do Democrats not know that? I mean, I'm not being facetious. There might be some liberals in here. And I'm saying, do you guys not know she's already in office? As of right now, she has access to the White House. She can go talk to Joe and say, Joe, we need to do something about this. We need to fix this because, it's going to cost me the election if we don't do something now. How much longer can I tell people, I'm going to fix it in January? Eventually, people are going to wake up and say, you're in office right now. How do people not know this? How does the media get people not to understand everything out of her mouth? She's been in charge essentially for the last 3.5 years.
And increase economic security for all Americans. And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on...
I got to rewind this a little bit. All right, so when I was talking about uncomfortability, I want you to look at her face. I got to say, she can read. Yes, sometimes, when we're reading, not scripts, but anything, like I read articles, sometimes you can juxtapose a word or your tongue can get tied. But this is a signature initiative that she's pushing out. She wants, and she's been telling everybody, she wants to stop price gouging. Listen to what this woman says on her prime initiative.
Work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food.
What the hell is price gauging on food? How did you mess that? Of all the lines you had to deliver, how did you mess that one up? How did you mess up price gouging and say price gauging when that's the entirety of your platform? That's what you were rolling out today. I can't answer that.
We know that many Americans don't yet feel that progress in their daily lives. Costs are still too high. And on a deeper level, for too many people, no matter how much they work, it feels so hard to just be able to get ahead.
How do you say that to a group of people? You just admitted on national television and to an audience in front of you that you failed. None of this makes any sense. I know you guys aren't doing well, and I know you can't get ahead. But you know, I've been here for 3.5 years, and sorry, we haven't done anything. How does that even happen? How do you get to a position where you feel comfortable enough to tell people you failed without them knowing you're talking about your failure? Dwell on that for a second. Put it in your own life. An employee, or if you're the employee, and if you walk up to your boss and say, I know I haven't been doing very well lately, and I know I have cost the company money, but you know, in January, I'm going to do much better. Barry, yeah, you won't be here in January. In fact, pack your shit and leave. That's what she just did. She just went up on stage and said, I know I'm not doing that well. I know y'all still hurting. But you know what? If I get elected, I'll change it. And so I'm saying, what have they done to these people? Are they completely MK Ultra to the point where they don't know that she and Joe are actually the people in charge of, well, supposedly in charge of things? How do you convince people that she's no longer the vice president?
So every day across our nation, families talk about their plans for the future, their ambitions, their aspirations for themselves, for their children. And they talk about how they're going to be able to actually achieve them financially. Because look, the bills add up.
Bills add up. Now you get black on you. Okay, sister.
Food, rent, gas, back to school clothes, prescription medication. After all that, for many families, there's not much left at the end of the month. Housing market.
Sorry, I have failed you. I know there's rent and food and pharmaceuticals that you need to get, and you guys are sitting around a table trying to figure out, but hey, listen, I know at the end of the month there's not much left. And as I'm watching this with the wife, I'm going, honey, is she just admitting to everybody she's failed? And I try to sometimes with my analogies break them down for you in your own personal life. If you could walk into your boss's office and say these things, or if you are the boss, if any of your employees could come in and say these things. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Smith, but I know I've sucked. I know you and the other managers sit around and go, he sucks. But you know what? I'm going to do better in a few months. It just isn't reality. The detachment here from her and these people she's standing in front of is mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling.
And I know what home ownership means. It's more than a financial transaction. It's so much more than that. It's more than a house. Home ownership and what that means, it's a symbol of the pride that comes with hard work. It's financial security. It represents what you will be able to do for your children.
So I understand that home ownership is a product of hard work and what it means for you and your family. But I'm going to allow you to skip the hard work part. We're going to go straight past jail and pick up $25,000. You're going to skip the hard work part. You can't deal with the hard work part. The hard work part. So where's the $25,000 coming from? Oh, probably the money they're going to steal from companies when they use the FTC and the price gouging law. And sadly, right now, it is out of reach
for far too many.
Again, sadly right now, you ain't got any money and you can't buy a house. It's out of reach. You're applying for a job telling me you failed and you got people clapping. It's out of reach. The interest rates are too high. Housing prices are too high. Why? Because of the crap you've done. And you're just patronizing these people. I know you little people ain't got no money. I know it's out of reach right now, but in January, I'm going to fix it.
American families. There's a serious housing shortage. In many places, it's too difficult to build, and it's driving prices up. Shut down and failed.
So she's in my wheelhouse now. She's talking about real estate. She didn't talk much more about it. So I'm going to talk about her plan. That she wants to give $25,000 to people to buy a home. Including newcomers, by the way. That's a lot what people in the news didn't talk about. She wants to give $25,000 to newcomers so they can buy a house. You can go to a website like Realtor.com. You can go to a website like Zillow. Redfin. These are 3 big real estate sites. So if I were to forget where is she getting the money from. I want you to forget that point right now. Forget that. Let's say I gave you $25,000 and I said, you know what? Go buy your first house. Go get a house and let me know when you find that house and we'll give you $25,000 for a down payment. Awesome. And I go to Zillow and I go to Redfin and I go to Realtor.com. And I look at a house, I'm like, that's perfect. Honey, we're going to buy that house with the $25,000 that Kamala Harris is stealing from somebody else to give to us. And we're going to be a homeowner. Okay, then you like, okay, now I need to call the mortgage company or the bank. And you tell them, I got $25,000 to put down on a house, and my credit is about 510. What kind of mortgage can I get? And then the reality slaps you in the face when they go, you can't get anything. Your credit sucks. I'm sorry. $25,000 ain't going to cut it. You are too big of a risk. Does anybody remember what happened in 2007, 8, and 9 when the real estate market tanked because they were giving out mortgages to people who could fog a mirror? You get a mortgage, you get a mortgage. I remember because I got rich. When banks went, we can't deal with this stuff. Do something. Sell it off. Hey, Barry, literally, I would get phone calls. We had to hire 6 people to answer phone calls from banks. And banks would be saying, hey, can you buy this property? Can you take it off my hands? We don't even want to go through the legal process. People were just walking in with keys into our office. No bullshit, excuse me. People were walking into our office with keys and said, can you please do something? You can have it. No, we would have at least 5 to 10 of those per week where people would just walk into our office and hand us the keys. And I'm like, okay, before you leave, I need to, your coupon book. I need to talk to your bank. We need to figure out this. And I would call the bank. They said, Mr. Smith just walked in and dropped off his keys. I understand he owes this much. What can we work with here? What can you knock off? And then we would buy the house. So when she says $25,000 down payment, she has yet to say what the credit criteria is for that $25,000. I can tell you if newcomers are going to get this money, there is no credit criteria. Here's 25 grand. Well, I'm not going to give it to you. When you get a contract, let us know. We'll give you 25 grand. Let me tell you why this is such a hollow, a complete BS proposal. If you were to get any type of mortgage, 10%, 15%, 5%, on a property, meaning you're going to get an 85 to 90, 95% loan, which is out of the question unless you've got a good 700 credit score. But let's say somehow she incentivizes banks to give these people mortgages, and please, I hope she does. Because then I'll be buying properties at about 30, 40% on the dollar and be sitting pretty. But in any event, so they get this mortgage or pick out a house. What house can you buy with 25 grand down? If the bank says, hey, listen, we'll give you a 90% mortgage, but you're going to need 10% down. Okay? So that means your max property you can buy, max, don't want to get in the weeds here with the math, the max property you can purchase in today's market would be $250,000 if all else is equal. You can have, we'll take your $25 down, 25 grand down payment, and you're still going to owe us still about 250 because when the interest and everything else. So now you got your house. Okay, well, go on Redfin, go on Zillow, go on Realtor.com and search the entire country and see where you can buy a house for $250,000. It ain't going to be anywhere where you want to live. Hey, Barry, can you help me out? What? I'm looking to buy a house for about $225,000, $250,000. In South Florida? Yeah. You might want to move to North Dakota. Ain't going to happen. New York? Ain't going to happen. California? Ain't going to happen. Chicago, Illinois? Ain't going to happen. Unless it's in the deep, 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 deep hood where at closing, maybe they give you, a rifle with your closing documents. People are going to, she's going to give $25,000 away for down payments. She's not giving 25 grand away on down payments because nobody's going to be able to buy a home that the down payment matters. And even if you found a house for $250,000 that you said, you know what, I could probably live in this for a few years, see some appreciation, fix it up a little bit. My father's a contractor. Okay, your mortgage rate's going to be about 8-9%. You're looking at $2,000 a month with your mortgage payment, your interest, and your taxes. I just did it off the top of my head. Yeah, I did. How many of these people who need a $25,000 down payment can afford a $2,000 a month mortgage? I can tell you that because they say your mortgage should not be more than 35% of your income. So now you're talking about somebody who hopefully can get a 90-10 mortgage, who hopefully somebody will accept a $25,000 payment, who needs to be making, I don't know, about $85,000 a year. See how I did that math real quick? It's the absolute truth. The amount of houses you would be able to buy with a $25,000 down payment are about that many. It's a fraud. It's a scam. Unfortunately, some people just aren't in a position yet to buy a home. Plus, you can actually buy a home for less with the FHA. This thing called FHA where you only need a 3% down payment and your credit doesn't need to be that well, and it has a higher purchase limit. So you go to FHA and say, listen, I'd like to buy this $300,000 house. I'm a first-time home buyer. I'm going to use FHA. Oh, great, Mr. Cunningham. All you need is $9,000. This woman has no friggin' clue. Don't get me into the real estate realm. I'll embarrass some liberals. I will absolutely destroy some liberals if they want to talk about real estate. This woman, I could debate about real estate. There are probably 1,000 mortgage brokers and real estate agents across the country who could go, she's full of shit. There's probably people in the chat here who are in the real estate business who go, yeah, that's BS. Sorry for the long diatribe there and how I kind of went off on the side there, but I'm telling you, from 25, almost 30 years in the real estate business, it ain't gonna happen. And if somehow she finagles mortgage companies into doing it, I'm telling you right now, hold your money. You're going to get rich because when these people default and the banks foreclose, they're going to be looking for people to take these properties over. We were closing anywhere between 10 and 20 properties per month. They're flying all over the world. My wife and I going everywhere. It was fantastic. And then, of course, you know what happened after that. But you make the money, you save the money, but anytime you try to force a class of people into something they have not earned yet, It's a recipe for utter disaster. It is communism. It's designed to destroy everything that's happening. If you have not worked and accumulated enough to move into a house, do a lease option, do something. But to expect the government to get you into a home, unless you're, maybe join the army, go get a veteran loan.
But our supply chains have now improved, and prices are still too high. A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic. Ground beef is up almost 50%. Many of the big food companies are seeing their highest profits in 2 decades.
So, means I'm a good business person. See, what has happened is you have decided to stop drilling. You've made the diesel gas more expensive. It costs more for me. You've forced people to get higher minimum wages. All these things you said were going to be great. And so now, in order for us to actually run this business, I have to charge more. And because I can charge more, then I can make more. So what you're saying is you don't get to charge more because of my mistakes.
And while many grocery chains pass along these savings, others still aren't. Look.
That's a choice. See what she just did there? She's taking away choice. She's taking away market conditions. If I'm the only store around and I can keep my prices stable and I don't have to do a discount, then I am going to continue to sell it at what the market demands. You understand, if back to the real estate, you put a house on the market for $300,000 and nobody buys that house after 3 months or 6 months, then you better drop it to $250,000. Down here, a year and a half ago, if you put a house on the market, you were going to get 7 or 8 offers. Some of them sight unseen, just people faxing in, not faxing, but emailing offers in saying, here, I'll pay, and overprice. I'll pay you $350. Even though I know you're asking $300, I'll pay you $350 for this house, just so I can get the hell out of New York. I'll pay you $350, cash. Okay, oh, wait a minute, sorry. Just got an offer for $375. Hey, Joe, I know you offered $350, but I got an offer from $375. Oh, I just got an offer for $380, but this person needs a mortgage. Can you close in 2 weeks? I'll wire you the money. You got a deal. On a property that was going for $300, sold for $362 because somebody said, I'll wire you the cash right now. It happens every single day here in South Florida. Every single day, without question. That's how fast the market goes. So are you telling me I had to pay, or basically I had to sell it for $300,000, even though the market showed me there were people who were willing to pay over my asking price? That's wrong. I remember being called a vulture and every other kind of name in the book because I would buy a foreclosure, and that foreclosure I could probably negotiate with the bank because they need to get it off their reserve book. And I don't want to go into all the different reasons why banks have to discount properties, but they would say, listen, I need $300. And I would say, no, I'll give you $210. Well, it's worth $380. I'll give you $210. Let me know what you want. Bank would come back and say, can you give me $215? Deal. We go in, put new paint, put new carpet on it, sell it for $400. On a house I bought for $210. Well, Barry, that's just wrong. No, it's not. There were some people who wanted to pay $400,000 for a house. That's what the market rate was. I never bought a house unless I already knew that the buyer was waiting. There are tools out there that show you what areas and what people are looking for and how the inventory is and what the absorption rate is, and these are all big terms. But I can say, listen, if I buy a house in this neighborhood, I can see that the average house is only on the market for 14 days. So if I buy it and I come in at that price, forget what I bought it for. Doesn't matter. If the average house is selling for $400,000 and I come in at $395, doesn't matter that I bought the house for $200. Doesn't matter. This is what the market rate is. So I take my house at $200 that I bought from the bank. I put it on the market for $400. We negotiate it down to $385. I got a great spread. I bought it for $200. I'm selling it for $385. Well, you didn't have to sell it for that much. You could have sold it to somebody for for $250 and still made money. That's not how it works. That's not how business works. It's definitely not how the real estate business works.
I know most businesses are creating jobs, contributing to our economy, and playing by the rules.
What rules? What rules does a business have in order to provide jobs and make a profit? What's the rule that she's talking about? Of course, she doesn't say it, and the people in the background don't know what the hell she's talking about because she doesn't know what she's talking about.
But some are not, and that's just not right. And we need to take action when that is the case.
What action? I bought a widget. I bought it for $15. I'm selling it for $45 because people want widgets. And you're saying it's just not right. That's communism. She has stated it over and over. Everybody should end up in the same position. This is nothing but a communistic approach, and her big mistake is she wants to take on business. She wants to take on corporations. There may be people in here who don't like big business. There may be people in here who don't like little businesses. But the fact of the matter is, it's business. What are they clapping for?
As Attorney General in California, I went after companies that illegally increased prices, including
How do you illegally increase the price? Okay, she left that out. There's a reason why she left that out.
Wholesalers that inflated the price of prescription medication, and companies that conspired with competitors to keep prices of electronics high.
Have you ever gone to an intersection and there's like 3 gas stations? Maybe 2 gas stations. You look over here and it's like, $4 a gallon. And you look over here and unbelievable. It's $4 a gallon. He raises his price to $4.05. This guy, his price is $4.05. He drops his price to $3.80. He drops his price to $3.80. Is she going to sue all these businesses? You call that collusion? Or is it responding to market conditions?
More than $1 billion for consumers. So believe me, as president, we know.
All right, so she's going into the big close right now. And I want you to pay particular attention to how she closes this. We're getting near the end here. We'll take some comments after, but I really want you to hear how she ends his big speech that lasted all of about 18 minutes and talking about her financial plan. You ready? Here we go.
That many Americans don't yet feel that progress in their daily lives. Costs are still too high. And on a deeper level, for too many people, no matter how much they work, it feels so hard to just be able to get ahead. So in the weeks to come, I will address in greater detail my plans to build an opportunity economy.
In the weeks to come, you're standing up there giving your platform, and you still can't tell everybody what you're doing. In the weeks to come, I'm going to let you know what I'm going to do. Not taking any interviews, not taking questions from the press. I've just spewed out my vomit and let you guys think I'm doing something, pretending though as I'm not the vice president. And for you people, I'll let you know in the coming weeks what my plan is. So why the hell did you hold this event? You didn't tell us anything. You didn't tell the people anything. Did Donald Trump force her hand? Did she see what Trump was doing and decided, hey, listen, I need to get out there and say something, anything? That doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to run my commercial right now, but I want you to see what happened. So she decides to get out there and talk. And you can always tell what's happening when you see this occur. Gold rallies to the highest price ever. History of recorded gold pricing. It's over $2,500 an ounce. After she got done talking, people were like, oh, hell no. This is insane. And you're going to see some profit taking on Wall Street, but I've always said to you guys, look at the trends. Look at the indicators. One of the biggest indicators you just saw is gold is now at a record high after softer dollar and rate cut expectations. She single-handedly went out there. Maybe Nancy knew and said, hey, buy some gold. Buy some gold. Yeah. Barry, did you buy some gold? Yeah, I knew. I've been telling y'all. I have been telling you every single show. I run my commercial in here. I'll run it tonight. I'll put this on the bottom of the screen just so. Oh, where'd it go? Yeah. If you want to get some. It's crazy. It doesn't take a mastermind to understand what's happening in these markets. The gold market goes off the charts, over $2,500 an ounce. My wife's in there screaming when she saw it because of all the gold she's walking around with or she has in her safe. You got to start hedging. I told you about the deep freeze that we just got a notification. I thought the dog was barking because Amazon was here. Get your deep freezer. Get stuff. Start preparing. Do what you need to do because this ain't going to get any better. Not at all. Let me hear what you guys got. Travis Chapin. Yeah, get some. She is bought and paid for. She does what Soros and Obama tell her to say and do. Yeah, like the person who said, look at her body language. Look at the uncomfortable way she talked. She didn't look like she knew what the hell she was talking about because she doesn't know what she's talking about. And it showed. Commies need to get some brains. Yeah. It's just, hey, someone needs to fact check all these statements she makes about what she did as AG. Yep, they won't. Small business closing like mad. Shut down longer over the when. Large stores allowed to be open. Communism does not work for the people. It lasts only. Bigwigs get better off. Yep, absolutely. I wanna slap her out the White House. Okay. So I'm not a money-making, quote, machine, but you learn certain things, and you learn to look for certain things and certain opportunities. And I'm telling you, if you, I've said it many times, if the deal makes sense, there's always money for it. I was on a conference call today with my attorney and a couple of people, and they're looking to put together a fund. And, they're like, you want in on this? And I'm like, yeah, let's see what we can put together because that quickly, everybody saw what she said. As soon as people in the business heard that she was giving away money for mortgages, giving away, you ain't got no skin in the game. You want to buy a house? What happens when you can't afford it? What happens when you haven't shown the ability to pay a mortgage over 24 months or rent over 24 months? You're going to fail. I mean, it's historical. You know what's going to happen. Notice, let me just tell you something. This has always been something on my mind. Notice that you never hear any politician, Democrat, Republican, you never hear any politician say, you know what, we should do away with credit bureaus. Have you thought about that here in the year 2024? That you've never heard any, not even Elizabeth Warren, nobody, not AOC, nobody has said we should do away with credit bureaus. Why is that? Why, if you want to help people get back on their feet, maybe they shouldn't have a credit score. Maybe nobody should know whether or not they have, bad credit or good credit. You want everyone to be equal and have equity? Take away the credit bureaus. Don't make scores illegal. Never gonna happen. Never, ever going to happen. That is a golden goose that they will never, ever touch. Those of you who had hard times in your life, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've had to overcome credit score issues in my life. That never gets talked about. I don't know if I'm the first one to say it to you, but now you think to yourself yeah, I've never heard of anyone get up on a stump and go, and I'm going to do away with credit scores. We are not going to let you be doomed by your past. You don't have to wait 7 years to make sure your credit gets back in place. We're going to do away with credit bureaus. Nope, never heard anybody say that, have you? You know why? Because they're all full of it. They're all full of it. You see all the different things on television with Credit Karma, and we're going to have you instant credit score bumps and all this stuff. They still pitch all these products on credit scores because the government, the mortgage companies, the banks, you can't even open a bank account if your credit score isn't good enough. Yet, Miss Kamala, who's for the people, who wants to see everybody on the same plane, where's your credit score modification, Kamala? In your 20-point plan, is one of those things to absolve and just basically make credit companies go away? Or do you still want people to use credit scores? Nope, they never asked that. Never asked that. Zero buying power. Let's see, a Democrat platform attack companies for giving debt, some, offering more freebies and spending more money. Yep, that's all they do. Barry is correct. I lived it. Get out of my debt. Why you can't like I did? Yeah, got to fight through it. There's no way for her to institute the communist plan that she loves without there being some way to get out from underneath a credit score. Now, here's the big problem with it. If she did that in reality and said, I'm going to do away with credit bureaus, then you'd never get any credit extended. And so she would, hey, I'm going to lend you some money here. Say, let me run your credit. Let me see what's gone on in the back of your life there. You seem like a nice person, but I need to run your credit. Got to get an apartment. Yeah, okay, well, yeah, this looks good. Let me run your credit. Want to buy a car? Let me run your credit. Unless you got cash, they're going to run your credit. So her entire plan is BS. Makes absolutely no sense. I don't care if you give them all $25,000 down payments so they can be homeowners. If they can't get a mortgage, they're in the same damn place. How many people right now would like to buy a home, and the only reason stopping them from buying a home is not having 25 grand? That's a lie. Because that is just the start of the process. All right, now I've got 25 grand. Now I'm going to go look to buy a home. Okay, now I got to still negotiate. Now I also have to basically apply for a mortgage. And when I apply for that mortgage and they go, hey man, you haven't worked 24 months. I know, I'm just getting on my feet. Wait a minute, I don't see any data in here. Oh, I just came in from Venezuela, I'm broke. But I got this, 25 grand. Are you working? No. What do you mean? Well, I only got here like a year ago, so I don't have any work history, no credit score. You know anyone who's given that person a loan? So if she gets out there and says, I'm going to give $25,000 down payment to all newcomers, and a newcomer doesn't have any credit history, isn't that a hollow promise? Isn't that a promise that means absolutely nothing? Why aren't they calling her out about that? If you know business, you know she's full of crap. Nothing she says can happen. It's all DOA. And that's why specifically I am saying today, in my mind, barring the big cheat, she lost the election. It's over. I could talk for probably 2 more hours and tell you why it ain't going to happen. You pissed off business. No business is going to give you carte blanche to their books. Ain't ever going to happen. It's DOA. Even CNN and MSNBC are looking side-eye at you. It ain't going to happen. Nope. Ain't going to happen. So today, the comparison between her and Trump is stark. And you're going to have a lot of people who are looking over here and start looking to the right. Because she just told me she's dangerous. Anyone running a business just looked at her and said, there's danger there. So that's why I feel right now she just ended her candidacy, and she doesn't even know it, or maybe she does. Over the next 5 or 6 days, you're going to hear all kinds of glowing things at the Democrat National Convention. But you're also going to see some crazy stuff with all the riots that are happening. But behind the scenes, you're going to see a lot of corporate donors going, I can't back this. I can't do it. You're going to see a lot of independents just, no, I can't be for this. They'll still try to overinflate the numbers, but it's over. You can come back to me in November and say, Barry, you were wrong. And as long as there's no cheating, I will be a man and go, I completely missed it. But I'm telling you right now, barring that, this woman doesn't have a chance. Doesn't have a prayer. All right, so I'm going to get out of here because I got to come back in 2 hours at 7 o'clock to talk about the polls. Thanks for tuning in to this one. Let people know this is BS. This was crazy. Thanks for tuning in.